So if you've built up yourself a pretty solid collection of NFTs, it's most likely that these are worth quite a bit of money now. And seeing that we're still living in what is the digital wild, wild west with scammers left, right and centre trying to drain your wallets, you probably need to look at how you're going to protect yourself and your assets. Now, you might have heard lots of people say,
"Get a hardware wallet!"
And yeah, they're right. But actually, there might have been a few things that have stopped you either purchasing your hardware wallet or even setting it up in the first place. And there might have been some questions that you have that maybe you've been a little bit embarrassed to ask, or you just haven't found the resources to answer them for you before you make that all-important transfer. Well, fear not, because I'm in the same boat. I bought this back in October and it's been sat on my desk. And then, only in the last week, have I bought a Ledger Nano X, knowing that this is probably the better one to set up, and I still haven't done it. I've got exactly the same questions for you, and I'm going to be asking them today. And also, I'm going to be bringing in two incredible hardware wallet advocates to answer all of those questions that we need answering to help give us that reassurance that a hardware wallet is the best thing to do to make sure our assets are really, really protected. Oh, and stay tuned at the end of this video, because I've even got some great advice to help you stay protected with your assets whilst you're waiting for something like your ledger to actually arrive in the post. Okay, first things first, let's go back to basics. We need to understand clearly what the additional benefits are when it comes to having a hardware wallet. Why do I need it? And why am I not just safe having my Metamask on my desktop?
Saving your NFTs on Metamask, that is considered your hot wallet. And as well as your NFTs being saved on there, you'll have your private key saved online. So there's potential for hackers to exploit and potentially seize your private keys. With a cold storage wallet, those keys are stored within the ledger. And so whenever it is not connected, they do not have access to obtain those private keys. Your private keys are actually not your seed phrase as well. It's just a string of code that basically is a secret key and proves authorization for transactions.
Okay, so that makes things super simple. Even I can understand it. And now you might be thinking, well, what happens if you trade or buy on different blockchains? Can you save them all to the same ledger if you bought on Ethereum and Solana at the same time? Let's find out.
Yes, so it depends on what the blockchain is. If it is a layer 2 blockchain, that would be like Matic, Avalanche, Polygon, then you can use the same ledger and access it the same way that you would Ethereum. But there are other blockchains where you would need a separate wallet, for example, Solana.
Okay, so that's really interesting because yes, there are certain NFTs out there on certain blockchains that aren't quite ready to work with something like a ledger. So it is good that you check that out and know which assets you can save and which you can't. Now, here's the big question that I'm sure is on everyone's lips. What happens if you lose your ledger? Does that mean you actually lose your NFTs as well?
So luckily with the ledger, they save your private keys or your secret keys on the ledger, and they do not save your tokens or coins. And so anytime you lose your ledger or it breaks, that recovery phrase, there's a recovery phrase that they request you to write down when you first set up your ledger. With that recovery phrase, you are able to enter it into a new ledger, and then it should give you access you previously had with your previous one.
Okay, so that is quite reassuring to know. Now, the other question that I know I had was, if you've got a ledger like this where you have to put a PIN in, what happens if you forget your PIN 3 times? Do you then lose your NFTs?
So that's going to come back to your seed phrase as well. So as long as you have your seed phrase, you can just set that ledger back up with a new PIN. But if you don't have it, then you have now lost your assets.
Okay, understood. Now, I suppose the next question on my lips, and probably on yours as well, is if you want to sell your NFTs, do you then have to transfer them back from your ledger onto your hot wallet on your desktop, or how do you go about doing that? Let's find out.
So luckily with MetaMask and Ledger, they now integrate pretty seamlessly. All you got to do is just go on to MetaMask and connect your hardware wallets, either Ledger or Trezor. I think there's also some other options too, but you just connect it. And then once you connect your Ledger onto MetaMask, you will get a new wallet that's labeled Ledger hardware wallet on your MetaMask. And that way, once you've connected it, you can just buy, sell, and trade directly through MetaMask as basically a bridge.
Okay, that keeps things really simple. Now, here's a little bit more of a complicated question. If you've got multiple wallets inside the same MetaMask wallet and you're looking to protect all, say, 3 or 4 of those, can you do that through the same ledger?
So for the multi wallets in your MetaMask, you can just transfer your assets to that Ledger wallet, just like you'd be sending a regular transaction from wallet to wallet. If you're looking to set up a second MetaMask with a new seed phrase, to the best of my knowledge, you would have to purchase a secondary ledger.
Okay, so sometimes it's safer to actually think about getting multiple ledgers for different wallets as well, just to make sure everything is really safe and secure. Now, you might be going, well, with all this transferring across back and forth, what is it actually costing me beyond the cost of the ledger itself? Do I have to pay any fees to transfer things from my hot wallet across to my ledger? Let's ask.
So say we're talking about NFTs, the price probably ranges from about $15 to $50, depending on gas and how congested the network is. You can do batch transactions where you send all of your NFTs in batches, which pretty much costs the same amount of gas, it's just less work. There's also the option of importing your entire seed phrase from your hot wallet to your cold wallet instead of moving individual items. Now, if you've ever interacted with anything sketchy before you did that, then it's not going to be safe. So people usually recommend moving things, but say you have 1,000 NFTs that are worth not enough to move. If you want to protect those, you can put them onto a hardware wallet and then move the ones that are worth more to a new hardware wallet, kind of keep them separate.
So that's not wholly unexpected that there's going to be some gas fees, but make sure you check out the best time to send across your NFTs so that you know that you're saving on as much money as you can when it comes to gas. Oh, it's a bit of a difficult one. All right, next up, here's a question about airdrops. Can you still receive airdrops if you've got your NFT collection associated with your ledger?
So with the ledger, because it only stores your private keys, as long as you have the address to the wallet you want the airdrops to transfer to, you can just submit that address and then the airdrops will come in. The ledger does not need to be plugged in.
Phew. Okay, so that's useful to know about the airdrops, and it's really great to know that there isn't kind of a compromise that you're going to have to make with that. So all good stuff. Now, the next thing that I want to know is actually quite an unlikely scenario, but it is something that we can think about to be prepared for should the worst happen. Now, what happens if your ledger gets stolen? Can you still protect your assets from someone else using your ledger?
So if they steal your ledger, they would also need to have your PIN number, which I would think would be unlikely unless it was like written on the ledger itself. So don't do that. But if they were to get your ledger and the PIN, but you still have the seed, you would want to try to get on there right away with your seed, make a new wallet, move everything as fast as you can before they get a chance to. It's kind of a race against time at that point.
Okay, so that's always good to know if someone is stealing your wallet. Now, let's take it back for our final question to find out what happens if you actually forget that all-important seed phrase, and actually to find the best ways in order to protect your seed phrase as well, because what we don't want is for you to lose the opportunity to access your NFTs altogether.
If you were to lose it, if you still have access to your wallet, then I would recommend sending everything out of that wallet into one you do have access to. If you have lost access to your seed phrase and your wallet, then you are out of luck unless you can somehow find that. Yeah, so I always recommend people get a piece of metal and stamp it in there. You can engrave it in there. There are different metal things where you slide letters in. There's lots of different options, but you want it to be fireproof as much as it can be. A safe, of course, is very good. Paper is just dangerous. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've heard of people say that they threw away their seed phrase accidentally, or their kid crumpled it up, or it got wet. So you want to make sure that all of those things can't affect your seed phrase.
Okay, well, that is all very, very good advice. And I did promise you that at the end of this video, I'm going to give you a few tips on how to make sure you're safe whilst you're waiting for your ledger to arrive, particularly if this video has helped to convince you that this is the right way to go.
So I would really recommend, on top of using multiple wallets. So for example, MetaMask, you'll have a wallet specifically for holding a majority of your NFTs. You'll have a wallet specifically for minting. And then if you're a frequent trader, maybe just having the assets that you typically move often in that particular wallet. And then to add an extra layer of protection, even using multiple web browsers. So for example, Google Chrome, use that for your just casual viewing, leisure activities. And then with, let's say, Firefox, that is your particular crypto browser. So it's crypto focused, only crypto materials and information is used on the Firefox browser.
Well, there we have it, an absolute wealth of knowledge to help reassure you that protecting your assets through something like a ledger is probably the best way to go. If you have any more questions, please do leave them below in the comments. And also don't forget to check out this video. It's here to help you be really aware of other scammers in the space and ways that you can protect yourself beyond just the hardware wallet as well. So I hope you find it useful. And until next time, thanks for watching.